Terrifying secrets exposed, 12 sinister incidents haunting Asian schools since 2005. Lisa's heart tightened as she caught wind of the whispers. Crestview High loomed over their suburb like a dark omen, shrouded in tales of missing pets and flickering shadows. Did they have enough to worry about already? She lurked by the kitchen window, stirring spaghetti, as the sun dipped low, washing everything in an eerie glow. Just last week, her neighbor's cat had vanished without a trace, leaving scratch marks around its yard that resembled symbols straight out of a horror flick. "Hey, Mom!" Tyler's voice interrupted her thoughts, pulling her back into the moment. She forced a smile even though a chill crept into her bones. They had lived here all his life. Sure, the neighborhood had its quirks, but they'd made friends, they'd built a life. Yet now, even the kids playing in the streets seemed to carry a whiff of fear, an energy that sent shivers dancing down Lisa's spine. "Did you hear about the old school?" Tyler asked, eyes alight with bravado during a video call, surrounded by friends hooked on the latest gossip. "They say it's haunted. We should totally check it out. Imagine the views." Her stomach nodded. No. The very thought of Tyler, her only son, entering those cursed halls, made her want to scream. Those abandoned bricks held more than just dust. They concealed dark histories and stories of students that disappeared, shadows of lives once lived now trapped in echoes. Lisa had never believed in ghosts, but something about the anxiety in the air forced her to reconsider. Before she could catch her breath, Tyler's friends erupted with excitement. "What if we find something? This could blow up." Something inside her broke. She dialed his number, but a glitch buzzed through, and the creepy, static-filled silence made her skin crawl. "Tyler, don't be stupid," she murmured into the phone, but the only response was her son's voice echoing from the other line, a terrified gasp that pierced the air, cutting deeper than any knife. Right then, Lisa's world tilted as if the ground opened beneath her. She hung up, her heart racing, fear radiating through her like ice water in her veins. What if he was in danger? Anxiety filled her throat like bile, drowning out the neighborhood noise. She saw movement outside. Was that a figure near Crestview, hidden in the shadows? Was it merely her imagination, or was danger waiting just beyond their white picket fence? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The hairs on her arms stood as if they sensed danger. She grabbed her coat and stormed out the door, ready to confront whatever nightmare awaited her. Her breath quickened, the night growing darker and the tension in the air thickening as if something, or someone, was watching. The neighborhood felt dead, a hushed vigil wrapped in anticipation, waiting for the moment someone dared to uncover the truth behind Crestview's haunting reputation. With each hurried step toward the school, Lisa felt the icy breath of fear tickling her neck. What awaited inside those dreadful walls? Would she find Tyler? Or would she only stumble into the darkness lurking at the heart of Crestview High? Lisa's hand trembled as she approached the chain-link fence encircling Crestview High. The faint sounds of laughter, now hauntingly distant, echoed from her son's last call. Each step felt heavier, as if the very ground protested against her passage. Shadows flickered around her, and she swore she could hear faint whispers, fragments of words soaked in dread. The air was thick, almost suffocating. Every rustle of leaves felt like 1,000 fingers brushing against her skin. She pressed on, determined yet fearful. The school loomed ahead, a grotesque outline against the darkening sky, its windows like hollow eyes watching her every move. "Tyler," she called, her voice drowned out by the increasing gusts of wind. "Where are you?" No answer. Just the oppressive silence wrapping around her like a shroud. Summoning her courage, she pushed through the rusty gate that creaked in protest, screaming warnings of past trespassers. The entrance stood ajar, revealing a dark corridor inside. She peered in, her heart hammering madly in her chest. This was it. The heart of the darkness. As she stepped cautiously into the hall, the unmistakable stench of decay assaulted her senses. Paint peeled from walls like dead skin, and the floor creaked underfoot as if rebelling against the weight of memories. Desks lay overturned, chairs askew, a graveyard of learning left to rot. Tyler. She felt desperation clawing at her throat. Where could he be? A sudden crash echoed from down the hall, jolting her from her thoughts. She tensed, instinctively backing deeper into the shadows. Something moved, sending chills racing across her skin. It wasn't just the wind, it felt like more. She recoiled as the dim light flickered overhead, casting erratic shadows that danced with malicious intent. Mom! The cry rang out, not the confident shout of her son but a desperate plea that echoed in the recesses of her mind. Tyler! She dashed down the hall, her heart pounding louder than her footfalls. Each turn revealed more darkness, corners that felt alive, breathing in sync with her rising panic. As she neared the end of the corridor, she spotted something, a flicker of movement, a glimpse of a figure darting around the corner. Tyler, wait! She lunged forward, the distance between them shrinking. But just as she reached the corner, the figure vanished like smoke, leaving only silence in its wake. The panic rose in her throat, a bitter taste of fear, when suddenly the lights flickered one last time and went out completely. Darkness enveloped her, panic threatening to consume her whole. Mom, help! Tyler's voice tore through the void, raw and agonized. Lisa stumbled back, her breath hitching. Heart racing in trepidation, she fumbled for her phone, the screen lighting her shaking hands, casting an eerie glow around her. But the only thing visible was the rapidly flickering no-service message mocking her. Tyler! She screamed again, her voice echoing hollowly, as the very fabric of fear wove around her. The corner loomed ahead, dark and foreboding, promising secrets she wasn't sure she was ready to uncover. Then she heard a low, guttural growl that made her blood run cold. It reverberated through the walls, palpable and hungry. Lisa's breath quickened, and uncertainty reared its ugly head. A choice loomed before her: run back in fear or confront whatever horror awaited. With no more time to deliberate, she plunged into the darkness, her heart racing. The deeper she ventured, the more the shadows seemed to close in, breathing down her neck. What had she gotten herself into? And then, from somewhere very close, the laughter. A cruel, teasing sound that echoed through the blackness, sending chills spiraling down her spine. Was it Tyler? Or something worse? The truth waited for her, shrouded in darkness, ready to reveal itself in a way she could never have imagined. What lay at the end of that hall? What else would she uncover about Crestview High? Lisa's feet slid on the grimy floor, and a spark of panic ignited within her. Was that laughter? It danced around her, chilling her to the bone, yet it felt close, unnervingly intimate, as if the darkness was mocking her. Tyler! She called again, voice cracking with urgency. The growl returned, sharper, more menacing. It felt personal, as if it were toying with her, waiting for her to falter. She transitioned into a sprint, adrenaline powering her forward through the total blackness. Each step felt like a battle against unseen forces, and every breath was a reminder of how trapped she truly was. A narrow beam of her phone's light flickered and illuminated scattered papers, a chaotic explosion of worksheets and forgotten dreams. The hallway was a tomb for lost knowledge. Mom! The pleading echoed, but it was punctuated by another sound, the sickening crunch beneath her shoes. She looked down, heart lurching anew at the remnants of something once whole, now reduced to sanguine stains and rigid remains. Desperate thoughts clawed at her mind. How much had she overlooked? What had happened here? As she moved further into the school, the laughter faded, replaced by the unmistakable sound of dragging feet. Confused shuffles, as if something was dragging along the floor, something heavy. With each sound, dread wrapped tighter around her chest, squeezing her breath away. Mom! Tyler cried out again, this time sounding closer. She felt hope billiard through the dread, thrilling and terrified in equal measure. But what if he wasn't alone? A shiver swept down her spine. Turning a corner, she stumbled into a wide room, the gymnasium. Dust motes swirled in the dim shaft of light from her phone. The space packed memories of joyful cheers, now just a void filled with echoes of despair. Shadows gathered in the corners like hunched figures, watching. Tyler! She shouted, the urgency in her voice threatening to fracture as it bounced back to her. A rhythmic thumping began, one that set her teeth on edge. Could it be her son? Or something worse? The thumping grew louder, an unsettling mix of beats like a heart quickening in fear. Lisa moved cautiously toward the source, dread pooling in her stomach. As she approached the bleachers, she froze in horror. There, illuminated by her phone's glow, was a figure. A boy, hunched over, frozen, and trembling. The back of his head was toward her, wild hair swaying slightly. Tyler? She whispered, heart racing, hands trembling as she took a step closer. He didn't react. Was he okay? Fear gripped her, squeezing her chest, a vice of panic tightening ever more. The thumping became chaotic, frenzied, and without a warning, Tyler's body jerked. Then he turned. His eyes were wide, horror-stricken, fixated on something behind her. Mom, run! Confusion swept through her, but adrenaline surged as she spun around, her instincts screaming at her to flee. What had he seen? The shadows erupted from the corners, expanding and twisting with long, gnarly fingers reaching for her, hungry and insatiable. Lisa sprinted, desperation fueling each stride, but the weight in the air dragged at her limbs, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She burst into the hall just as the lights flickered on, harsh, blinding, revealing a vision of terror she couldn't process. The walls seemed alive, pulsating with a heartbeat that synchronized with her own. What were those fleeting shapes in the corners? What hunted her within these cursed halls? With nowhere left to run, she clutched her boy's arm and pulled him along, but deep down, she knew the lesson of Crestview was just beginning. The terrible truths it guarded, more horrific than the nightmares that haunted her thoughts. In the distance, a door slammed, echoing like a final note, a promise of more darkness to come. What waited for them outside? Would they be ready to face the truth of Crestview High, or would it consume them whole? They raced down the hall, each frantic step accompanied by the relentless pounding of their hearts. Lisa could feel Tyler's grip tightening on her arm as they dodged shadows that seemed to stretch and lengthen, threads of darkness reaching out like grasping hands. The air was thick and suffocating, filled with the smell of mildew and something else, something metallic. Mom, we have to hide. Tyler gasped, his voice trembling as he pulled her toward a nearby classroom. The door creaked open as if welcoming them into the sanctuary of uncertainty. They slipped inside, and the door shut with a heavy thud behind them, echoing too loudly in the oppressive silence. Lisa pressed her back against the door, holding it closed, trembling as she listened. The dragging sound was closer now, a wet slosh punctuated by ragged breaths that seemed to echo within the walls. What is that? Tyler whispered, eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. I don't know, Lisa responded, panic lacing her words. But we can't let it in. She scanned the room, taking in the dusty desks and peeling paint. The memories of students sitting here, laughing, learning, felt like whispered taunts. Mom, what happened here? Tyler's voice cracked, a blend of fear and confusion that twisted Lisa's heart. She didn't know how to answer. Instead, she raised her phone, casting its beam across the room, revealing the disarray of abandoned belongings and broken dreams. In that moment, they heard the unmistakable sound of laughter again, but deeper, more guttural wrong. It echoed through the corridors like a cruel symphony, bouncing off the walls, mingling with the desperate beats of their hearts. Then, a scrape at the door sent icy fingers up Lisa's spine. Tyler jerked away from her, eyes darting to the source. It's coming! In that split second, the door rattled violently, sending a jolt of terror straight through her. Lisa pushed against it, her life flashing before her eyes. Tyler, her heart, her lifeline. We can't let it take you. The laughter intensified, resonating inside her skull, drawing forth images of students long gone and memories twisted into nightmares. Shadows flickered, and in her mind, she could see their faces, etched in horror, trapped for eternity. Another bang rattled the doorknob, and Lisa felt the urgency of the moment surge within her. We need to break the window, she shouted, though the thought seemed reckless. The only other option was to let whatever hunted them inside. Do you think that will help? Tyler's eyes searched hers, but Lisa could see the fragility of his hope. Better than staying here, she replied with a determination she didn't fully feel. She motioned for him to grab a chair as she readied herself, adrenaline spurring her on. As Tyler grabbed the chair, the door creaked again, and something slithered through the crack. The air grew cold, piercing her skin like shards of ice. She never felt such weighty despair, like the darkness itself was alive, feeding off their fear. "Mom!" Tyler's panicked whimper jolted her, and she spun around. The silhouette was formulating behind them. "Now!" she yelled. They swung the chair against the window, glass shattering into a rain of crystals that glimmered like stars for a fleeting moment before falling into chaos. "Go!" Lisa pushed Tyler forward, shoving him through the jagged opening. The laughter swirled around them, becoming a cacophony of grief. She followed, feeling a hollow ache echo around her. Just as she crawled through the hole, something cold clasped her ankle. She screamed, eyes wide in horror, but before she could pull away, she felt herself being yanked back by invisible hands, teeth gnashing in the dark. "Mom!" Tyler cried, turning back but a moment too late. The world narrowed as the shadows enveloped her, a thick blanket of night, threatening to pull her into its depths. With one final push fueled by raw instinct, she clawed her way free, breaking the grip just as the laughter peaked, then exploded into a terrifying silence. They landed outside, breathless. Lisa turned back, panting, horror creeping back in as she locked eyes with the building where shadows now clawed at the walls. "What just happened?" Tyler gasped, looking to her for answers she didn't have. "I don't know," she murmured, confusion clouding her mind. But deep down, she felt the dread of what they had escaped and the reality that it was far from over. Somewhere behind them, in the darkness they fled, a low growl began again, more hungry than ever. What had awakened at Crestview High? And when would it return for them? They stumbled back, breathing hard, their hearts still racing from the nightmare they had just escaped. Lisa gripped Tyler's hand tightly, feeling the chill of his small fingers. She glanced over her shoulder at the looming school building, a monstrous silhouette against the dim night, and instinctively pulled Tyler closer. "Come on," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We need to get away from here." They began to move, their footsteps eerily quiet on the cracked pavement. Every rustle of leaves or snap of twigs made them jump. Lisa's eyes darted around, convinced the shadows were still chasing them. "Mom, what was that?" Tyler's voice wobbled, still thick with the remnants of terror. "I don't know, sweetie, but we can't look back." She pushed her fear aside, focusing on their escape. She didn't want him to see her panic. All that mattered was getting her son to safety. They reached the edge of the school property, where a dark line of trees guarded the perimeter. Beyond that was their neighborhood home, safety. But staring into the thick, gnarled branches reminded Lisa of the stories she had heard as a child, tales that weaved shadows and fears into the fabric of the darkened woods. "Mom, can we go home?" Tyler pleaded, his voice trembling. "Just a little further," she soothed, leading him toward the line of trees, ignoring the whispers in the air. As they pressed into the shadows, a chill swept over them, carrying with it the unsettling scent of wet earth and decay. The darkness felt alive, like it was breathing in sync with them, echoing the erratic thump of their hearts. There was a weight to the silence, an oppressive presence that stifled any comfort they might find in the familiarity of their route home. "Can we stop for a second?" Tyler asked, panting. Lisa hesitated, glancing back toward the school. The growl was more intense now, a low rumble just under the sound of the wind. "Okay, just for a moment." They moved to lean against a tree, Lisa's back pressed against the rough bark, eyes surveying the path ahead. Tyler slid to the ground, hugging his knees. Outside the grasp of the school, the laughter had abruptly vanished, replaced once more by an eerie stillness that felt even more sinister. "Why do I feel like it's watching us?" Tyler whispered, and Lisa felt a cold shiver creep up her spine. "It's just the dark, it plays tricks on our minds," she reassured, but the wavering uncertainty in her voice betrayed her. The stillness was thick, and the trees whispered secrets too low for her to hear but loud enough to feel. Then, a sharp crack, branches snapping somewhere deeper in the woods. Lisa's body tensed. Her instincts screamed for her to run, but her legs felt frozen in place. "Did you hear that?" Tyler's eyes were wide, reflecting the mere sliver of moonlight breaking through the layers of branches. "Yeah," Lisa barely managed to breathe. In an instant, movement caught Lisa's eye. Dark shapes darted between the trees, too fast, too twisted. They were not alone. Mom, Tyler's voice came out as a tremor. "Get up!" she shouted, panic surging as a rush of shadowed figures emerged from the darkness, threading their way toward them. They sprang into action, adrenaline propelling them forward as they ran. As they burst through the underbrush, the growl returned, echoing, reverberating through the air. It was closer now, almost a part of them. They had to reach the street, they had to get home. But each step felt burdened, as if the darkness was stacking fears upon them. "Over there!" Lisa yelled, spotting the faint glow of a streetlight cutting through the shadows. Desperate, they sprinted toward the warm beam of light, clinging to hope. But as they neared the street, Lisa felt it a tugging on her mind. A whisper that curled into her thoughts, reminding her of the choice they had made to flee, to escape whatever had awakened back at Crestview High. The light flickered, and for a moment, it felt like the world hung in a fragile balance. Then the laughter erupted again, a cacophony of madness, twisted and hungry. They didn't have much time. The thing that haunted the halls of the school was not done with them yet. "What is that?" Tyler cried, as the shadows began to close in around them. Lisa turned back, dread clawing at her throat. The night was far from over. Would they make it home? Or had they only stumbled deeper into the nightmare? The shadows closed in, thick and suffocating. Lisa could feel a cold sweat trickling down her back as she grabbed Tyler's hand tighter, feeling his small fingers trembling in fear. The once familiar sounds of their neighborhood cars passing, dogs barking, the distant hum of a train were replaced by an unsettling silence that seemed to pulse around them. "Run, Tyler! We have to run!" she shouted, her voice cracking. They pushed forward, desperately seeking the sanctuary of the streetlight. But as the light flickered, shadows wove around it, elongating into terrifying shapes that danced at the edge of their vision. "Mom, please!" Tyler cried, his small voice cracking under the weight of their panic. "I'm scared." "I know. Just hold on to me," Lisa pleaded, heart racing as they broke through the underbrush, emerging onto the cracked sidewalk that separated the schoolyard from the street. But the shadows didn't vanish. Instead, they coiled around the bases of the trees, forming dark pools that whispered and hissed. The school loomed behind them, a haunted figure nestled among the trees. It felt as if the very building was alive, feeding off their fear. Each step away from it was accompanied by a tug in her chest, a sense of something unresolved, lurking just behind their hurried breaths. "What if it follows us home?" Tyler's voice was small, trembling with the terrors that grew in the dark. "It won't. We just have to keep moving." But as she said the words, doubt crept in. She had no idea what they had unleashed. The growl from deep within the woods rumbled again, closer this time, more insistent. It was a sound that sank deep into her bones, paralyzing her with dread. What was it? And why could she hear it so clearly? Tyler stumbled, his shoe catching on a root. Lisa yanked him upright just as the light flickered once again and a figure darted into the illumination, a twisted parody of a child, its eyes glinting like shards of broken glass. It leered at them with a smile that didn't belong. "Mom, look!" Tyler pointed, eyes wide with fear. She turned and her heart sank. The figure was gone, but the laughter that echoed from the shadows had shifted into something more sinister, layered with malice that chilled her to the core. It was high-pitched, mocking a laughter she couldn't shake from her thoughts. "Let us go," Lisa whispered urgently, pulling Tyler with her, moving away from the encroaching darkness that felt like it was reaching for them. They ran, putting distance between themselves and the haunting sounds, but every step felt as if they were being dragged back. "Where are the lights?" Tyler cried, desperation creeping into his voice. The streetlights ahead flickered, one by one, igniting moments of wavering hope that left them more exposed in the moments of darkness. Just a little further. The shadows felt almost tangible now, clawing at the edges of her vision. She could feel them brushing against her skin, icy fingers trailing along her arms. Then, she heard the unmistakable sound of something heavy brushing through the leaves, fast, deliberate. "Mom!" Tyler shrieked, pointing behind them. Lisa turned, throat thickening with fear. From between the trees, a figure emerged, a humanoid shape cloaked in darkness, distorted like a reflection on water. "Run, Tyler! Now!" They sprinted forward, the streetlight ahead flickering wildly. But just as they reached the glow, it extinguished, plunging them into inky blackness. There was nothing but silence. What just happened? Tyler gasped, panting heavily. A whisper wrapped around them, curling things that chilled her mind. It was as if the very air they breathed was laden with secrets, the kind that should never be unearthed. Then, the unholy growl erupted behind them once more, a primal sound, echoing off the trees, reverberating in the very core of their fear. "Mom, I don't want to go back," Tyler cried, pulling desperately at her arm, but there was no choice. Something was there, something they had triggered. "Hold on tight," she shouted, crashing through the dark as the laughter returned, swirling around them like mist. What awaited them in the deepest parts of the night? As they plunged into the void, Lisa knew the nightmare was just beginning, and whatever haunted Crestview was not finished with them yet. The void felt alive, a pulse of dread that wrapped around them like a vice. Lisa stumbled, the ground beneath her shifting like a living thing. Shadows spiraled, elongating into grotesque shapes that loomed over them, stretching as if reaching for their throats. She could taste panic on her tongue, thick and bitter. "Mom, don't let go." Tyler's frantic voice sliced through the darkness, tremors evident as he pulled closer. Lisa felt her heart race. The weight of their fear pressed heavily on her chest. They pressed on, driven by desperation. The street ahead was a black abyss, an unwelcoming path that led deeper into unknown terror. Her fingers tightened around Tyler's hand, skin like ice against hers. Then came the sound, a harsh crack, like a twig snapping. Lisa's gut twisted. They weren't alone. "Tyler, we need to find somewhere safe," she urged, legs pumping harder as the chill in the air enveloped them. Just ahead, a glimmer. Was that a door? A memory of safety chipped away at the dread, but before they could reach it, a howl erupted from the trees. It was a sound so primal, it felt like a warning from the very earth itself. Lisa's breath caught. "Run!" she shouted, adrenaline surging. Their sprint turned into a frantic, panicked dash. The glow of the door flickered like a candle in a storm. Each step felt weighted by unseen eyes, watching, waiting. "Mom! I don't know if I can." Tyler wheezed, his small legs weary, but there was no time for slowing down. Lisa felt the ground shift beneath them, roots pulling, as if trying to suck them back into the depths of darkness. They were almost there when the air thickened. A laugh rang out, high-pitched and mocking, curling around them like smoke. It echoed against the structures that loomed above. "You're too slow." It chortled, a sound so twisted it ignited deep-seated fears. "Don't listen to it!" Lisa screamed, the panic spilling over. She could feel the presence at their heels, a palpable hunger that made the hairs on her arms stand on end. With one last desperate burst of speed, they reached the door. "Push!" she yelled, throwing her shoulder against the heavy wood. It swung open, and they tumbled inside, the familiar scent of dust and age flooding her senses. The door slammed shut behind them, but it felt like only a temporary reprieve. In the dim light of the abandoned room, her eyes darted frantically. The air was cold, filled with an oppressive silence now, but the laughter still echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder that they weren't safe yet. "Mom?" Tyler's voice was small, broken. She knelt, taking him in her arms. "We need to catch our breath." But even as she spoke, a gnawing fear settled in her gut. What if they were trapped in the grasp of something far worse? A scrape echoed from just outside the door, a claw against wood. "Mom, please, I don't want to stay here." Tyler whimpered, his small body trembling against hers. The shadows outside danced, crawling along the edges. "Shush," she whispered, maintaining a fragile calm. But her heartbeat hammered, drowning out her thoughts. Their escape from the darkness might only have led them deeper into its clutches. Then came the whisper, soft yet chilling, curling into her ear like an unwelcome caress. "You don't belong here." The words slithered into her mind, and suddenly, the room felt wrong. Dark shapes began to seep in from the corners, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. "Tyler, we need to find another way out." she gasped, scrambling to her feet. As they turned to the only window, a figure stood outside, cloaked in shadows, watching, waiting. Its presence sent waves of cold fear surging through her. "Mom?" Tyler trembled, unable to tear his eyes away. What were they truly facing? The answer loomed just outside, sinister and close. But before she could grasp what to do next, a hand broke through the darkness. What would that hand do? Would it pull them back into the night? The door rattled violently as something outside thrashed against it. Lisa grabbed Tyler and pressed his small body closer to hers. Every breath felt like a countdown, each second more fraught than the last. "Stay down," she urged, her voice barely more than a whisper, shivering in the stillness. Her heart pounded like a drum in her ears, drowning out everything else. The entity on the other side seemed determined, relentless, its claws scouring the wood and pulling, tugging as if it were alive, hungry. "Mom, I'm scared," Tyler's voice cracked, his eyes wide with terror. Lisa swept her gaze around the room, desperate for a way out. She could feel a rippling energy against her skin, a silent promise that danger awaited. "Me too," she admitted, feeling tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She grit her teeth, trying to stave off the panic that threatened to drown her. "But we can't give up. We have to move now." An eerie silence followed, the world almost stopping as they shared a breath, unified in dread. Then, a loud thud echoed again. This time, the door bulged inward, wood splintering. She could almost hear the laughter again, taunting them under the howl that rang like a siren in the air. "Mom, what is happening?" Tyler's voice wavered, filled with despair and disbelief. Lisa's eyes darted to the window, narrowed and darkened like a slit in the fabric of reality. A shape loomed closer, distorted by the shadows. Was it a person? Or something worse? She felt the weight of Tyler's fear crash against her own as she stood, desperate for answers. A flicker of movement caught her eye close to the corner of the room. There! A trapdoor, partially hidden by debris. She hadn't noticed it before, a mere whisper in the corners of her mind bending to the horror surrounding them. "Tyler, we need to go. Follow me." The urgency in her voice spurred her son forward. As Lisa knelt down and pulled away the rotting wood framing, Tyler's small hand clasped her wrist tense, ready with a grime-caked push. The door creaked open, releasing a wave of musty, bitter air that carried with it something ancient, something alive. "Hurry!" she urged, glancing back at the door where ominous sounds continued to grow louder, the entity growing nearer. Tyler scrambled through the narrow opening, dragging her along as darkness enveloped them. It was a small tunnel, the confines tight and oppressive, and Lisa could hardly breathe but pressed on, determination fueling her steps as the shadows seemed to claw at her heels. But then the laughter returned, echoing down the cramped space. "You think you can escape?" It twisted into a symphony of madness, laughter layered over itself until she felt it rattle in her bones. They stumbled further into the abyss when Tyler suddenly stopped, his breath catching. "Mom, please," he pleaded, "can't we go back?" "No." The word burst from her, raw and fierce. "We must keep moving. Please." The doubt clawed at her heart, but she forced it down, crushing it beneath the weight of her urgency. She wouldn't allow something malevolent to snare her child. Not now. Suddenly, the walls began to shimmer like a mirage, the tunnel bending and twisting, warping their hope. Ahead, a light flickered, beckoning them closer with the promise of safety. As they neared the glow, a figure stepped into their path, blocking their escape. It was a ghastly apparition, half-formed and draped in shadows, the same shadow that had watched them from the window, a nightmarish reflection of their fears. "Leave this place!" it shrieked, a sound that felt like knives scraping against stone. The air felt electric, charged with fear as the light began to fade, twisting into a vortex of darkness. Lisa tightened her grip on Tyler's hand. "This way!" she shouted, and they surged forward together. But in her heart, the truth clawed at her spirit. Was their escape merely a deeper plunge into horror? As they raced toward the light, the figure seemed to dissolve, its anguished cry still trembling in the air behind them. But as they reached the edge of the light, a sudden shift occurred. The darkness roared back, swallowing the glow like it never existed at all. "Mom, I can't see!" Tyler cried, panic-driven. The world around them collapsed. All connection to safety severed as they stumbled into, what? And just as quickly as the light vanished, another hand, no longer from outside, shot out from the darkness toward them. Don't look back. What awaited them in that void? Was it too late to turn away? Lisa's heart raced as she felt the icy grip of the unseen hand wrap around her wrist, pulling her hard into the depths of the black nothingness. For a fleeting moment, terror paralyzed her. She dared not look back, even as the whispers began to swirl around them, serpentine tugs on her mind that echoed with promises of dread. Mom! Tyler's voice trembled, desperate and small. Hold on tight. She shouted, her voice cracking under the weight of her own fear. She reached blindly into the thick darkness, every instinct telling her to resist. But whatever had grasped her wasn't about to let go. Ahead, the cacophony of laughter grew louder, a twisted choir that thrummed against her skull like a drum. You shouldn't have come here. It taunted, blending with the oppressive air thickening around them. Shadows danced along the walls, mocking the pair as they stumbled into a vast chamber. Lisa shoved Tyler behind her as she squinted into the gloom, searching for any sign of movement. The faint echoes of their breaths mingled with the soft sobs of the tunnel, sending cold shivers racing down her spine. And then she saw their grotesque figure materializing from the black void. It was a mass of contorted limbs and eyes that blinked in irregular rhythm, an unsettling mockery of humanity. Leave. Now, the creature rasped, its voice like gravel scraping against metal. The words wove through the air, tangible and menacing. This place devours the lost. Mom, please. Tyler clutched her shirt, pressing his face against her back, quaking with terror. Lisa's heart twisted for her son, but something inside her ignited a fierce instinct to protect and a flicker of defiance against the darkness closing in. No! We will not be lost today. She screamed, even as the shadows encroached, tendrils brushing against her skin like chilling fingers. Drawing upon a surge of adrenaline, she tightened her grip around Tyler's hand and took a step forward. Stay back! The creature screeched, its many eyes narrowing, the sound a violent crescendo that surged into the chamber and lanced through Lisa's bones. She felt the ground tremble beneath her feet. The shadows pulsed like an angry heartbeat. Mom, let us go. There's no way out. Tyler sobbed, fear clawing at his throat. Look! She shouted, pointing towards a flicker, a small, almost forgotten light deep within the darkness, pulsing like a heartbeat. We can make it there. And just as the figure lunged, she turned on her heel, pulling Tyler along with her. They stumbled toward the light's strange promise, but the shadows retaliated, seizing at their legs, dragging them back. Lisa fought against the grasping darkness, pulling fiercely against the tendrils like a lifeline, but every inch felt like wading through quicksand. Tyler, don't stop. She sensed the frantic energy behind her, the malevolence rising to consume them. The laughter crescendoed, a sinister orchestra playing their doom. We have to jump, she urged, as they neared the light. The glow flickered, wavering like a candle in a storm. With a quick glance, she saw the creature slinking back into the dark, the shifting shadows watching, waiting. Tyler gasped, his small body shaking. What if it's a trick? What if we can't get back? The only way is forward, she asserted, taking a deep breath, her heart splitting between fear and determination. On 3. 1, 2. Before she could finish, a blinding flash exploded before them. The world twisted, spinning into a whirlpool of white and black, and suddenly they were gone, the chamber collapsing in on itself, an echo of their screams lingering in the void. When the chaos died down, they found themselves in a different world altogether. A fog cloaked their surroundings, wrapping around them like a shroud. The air tasted stale, suffocating, and Lisa instinctively crouched low, dragging Tyler down with her. Where are we? Tyler whispered, wide-eyed, trembling. But in the mist, a voice emerged, soft yet devoid of warmth. You think you've escaped? This is merely the beginning. A chill slithered through Lisa. What new horrors awaited them in this unknown otherworld? Lisa's heart raced as she took in their new surroundings. The fog curled around their feet, cloaking the ground as they huddled close together. This can't be happening, she whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. The air felt thick, saturated with an unsettling energy, as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to unfold. "Mom," Tyler said softly, his voice quaking. "I don't like this place." "I know," she said, squashing the panic that threatened to overwhelm her. "But we have to keep moving. We can't stay still." They pushed through the fog, step by cautious step. Every noise made them jump, whispers riding on the breeze, echoing like a taunt from the darkness they escaped. The suffocating presence seemed to follow, pulsating with unnatural life, eager to catch them in its grasp. "Do you hear that?" Tyler asked, his words trembling. Lisa nodded, her own heart beating a frantic rhythm in her chest. "We need to find a way out." As they moved, the landscape morphed around them. Shapes began to emerge through the fog, a twisted tree here, a decaying structure there. It was like walking through a graveyard of forgotten dreams, each step resonating with the shadows of those who had come before them. "Mom, do you think the shadows are still behind us?" Tyler asked, glancing over his shoulder. "I don't know," she said, holding his gaze. "They can't catch us if we keep going." Her voice, though shaky, held a fierce determination. Suddenly, the laughter erupted again, shriller and more manic than before, echoing through the thick mist. It sounded closer this time, insidious. "They cannot escape," it mocked, weaving through the night like poison. "Run!" Lisa shouted, urgency propelling them forward. They sprinted, legs pumping, heartbeats racing in sync. But the ground felt as if it was shifting beneath them, dragging back with every hurried step. Through the thick haze, a light flickered ahead, promising hope. "Mom, look!" Tyler gasped, pointing toward it. "Let us go." She grabbed his hand, leading the way, faster than any fear. As they neared the light, a figure emerged from the shadows, solid yet distorted, its face a macabre reflection of their fears. "You think you can leave? You belong to us now," it shrieked, a voice twisting with malice. "Keep going." Lisa pulled Tyler closer, every ounce of her fighting against the panic. But the figure lunged, shadows spilling forth like a rushing tide to embrace them. Lisa felt the cold fingers of darkness clawing at her ankles, a desperate grip pulling at her resolve. "Mom!" Tyler cried, the terror in his voice slicing through her. "I want to let go." She shouted furiously, steeling herself against the encroaching dread. "Keep running." Just as they reached the edge of the light, a sudden wave of resistance slammed against them. Shadows surged forward like a choking fog, attempting to shatter their resolve. Lisa gritted her teeth, pushing forward with all her might, fueled by a primal instinct to protect her son at any cost. Together, they burst through the light, tumbling into a space filled with warmth and brightness. They collapsed to the ground, panting, the warmth wrapping around them like a soft blanket. Lisa looked around, heart pounding, pulse racing, but they weren't in the foggy abyss anymore, they were outside. "Mom, are we safe?" Tyler's voice trembled as he met her gaze, searching for reassurance. I think so," she replied, taking in the familiar sights of their neighborhood. The houses sat peacefully under the night sky, windows glowing with warm lights. The school stood in the distance, ominously dark but still resolute against the backdrop of stars, but Lisa's heart remained heavy. "We need to make sure it's really over," she said, leading Tyler back toward their home. As they walked, a soft breeze rustled the leaves, carrying with it whispers of what had transpired. They stepped onto their front porch, Lisa glancing back one last time at Crestview High. The shadows had retracted, coiling off into the darkness, but a lingering chill hung in the air, an unspoken promise that the darkness would not forget. Inside, with Tyler tucked safely in bed, Lisa sank to the floor, exhaustion washing over her like a tide. She could still hear the laughter echoing in her mind, chasing her into the depths of night. She'd seen the horrors and felt the grip of fear, but she had fought back, and they had survived. Just as she closed her eyes, the door creaked open behind her, snapping her back to full alertness. "Mom?" Tyler's small voice trembled in the shadows. "Are we really safe?" Lisa breathed deeply, feeling the weight of the battle still pressing on her heart. "As long as we're together, we'll be okay," she whispered, wrapping her arms around him, but even as she whispered from the depths of her heart, she knew, deep down, the shadows would wait just beyond the edges of their dreams, forever lurking, ever vigilant. And outside, the wind carried their promise and echo of their fight against the darkness, a bond that would remain with them even in the quietest of nights. They had stared down their fears and emerged on the other side, but the truth of Crestview High whispered its secrets in the dark, waiting patiently for the next chapter, the next victim to unravel the sinister tales it guarded. Their journey had ended for now, but as the stars twinkled above, Lisa felt the pulse of the night, a reminder that darkness was never truly vanquished, only held at bay. So, listen up, folks, because this is the moment. You need to subscribe now to the channel. Don't miss out on exclusive stories that will chill you to the bone. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and flood the comments with your reactions. What do you think happened to Lisa and Tyler? Share your theories. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.